This is Centered, where faith meets everyday life. Our hope is to invite you into a better story, a story where you're made new through Jesus, living with God-given purpose, and experiencing peace, joy, and freedom. Together, we'll explore what it means to keep Jesus at the center of where we live, work, and play, bringing beauty, meaning, and renewal to every part of our lives. Thank you for joining us. Here are your hosts, David and Ben.
I want to say good morning, but it's not morning. It's afternoon. Good afternoon, but it could be good morning for you. It could be the evening for you. Could be the middle of the night if you're like me. You know, night owl.
You could be a
but
night owl.
Welcome, whatever time it is, to the Centered Podcast, where we like to talk about faith and the everyday stuff of life, where they intersect.
That's what we say.
Where they meet.
The intersection of faith and everyday life.
Yeah, it's really simple. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. The rainy weather. What do you think? How does that make you feel?
Sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
California boy.
I mourn the loss of summer every year around this time. It also makes me really sleepy.
Same.
So like the caffeine is,
but I don't mind it. I like the changing of the seasons.
Oh,
fired up my furnace in the morning just to
I don't want to do that.
Just to cut the chill just a little bit in the house.
Dude, Excel's got me. I don't know. I don't know.
We're on solar, so we're
well, yeah, but solar is not gas.
Yeah, I guess that's true, huh?
Yeah,
my gas bill's gonna go up.
It is. It is.
Dang it.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but this is your first winter in this home.
No, we moved in December.
Okay. Oh, that's right.
We moved right before Christmas.
Right at Christmas. Don't perfect time for every pastor.
Yeah, right before Christmas, and then I got deathly ill, and I was only able to get through one of our 2 Christmas services.
And that's why we've stayed at one service.
It was my first. It was
We're
my
afraid to go to 2 services.
We're afraid to go to 2 services. What might happen?
What could happen to David?
Yeah.
No,
we don't know.
It's I'm nervous.
I'm putting my foot down. You paid me for one service. You were fine.
We got to double your salary.
You got to double my salary if you want 2 services.
Well, all right, elders, you know what it's going to take.
No, we're excited. We're excited about 2 services.
Yes,
it'll we come. Are. I am doing good, Mr. Ben. How are you?
I'm doing good. You know, today, my life tends to revolve somewhat around sports. And today is game 2 of the NLDS Dodgers Phillies.
Whoa!
So, 4:00. I'll be here. I'll be in my office.
Okay.
With the TV going, working and watching.
But don't bug you.
You can bug me. It's fine. I might ignore you and be like, hey, whoa, hold on.
Yeah.
No, because I'm looking forward to that.
Baseball's so fast-paced, and you have to be so engaged in that.
Whoa.
Hey, what
Shots
about
fired.
Our Broncos? Dude,
Whoa,
that was a good win yesterday.
Your Broncos.
Okay. What about my Broncos?
Yeah, that was a good win. No, I was surprised.
The Eagles.
Yeah.
Dude.
You know that I think they were due for a collapse, due for a stinker.
But from my team.
No,
I didn't
know.
say our team. That's great.
I know. No, I think their defense is legit.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I'm a believer, you know.
Yeah. Broncos did good, and then my Bucks, dude, they came back at the end. I thought it was over.
Yeah.
They scored a quick touchdown to tie it up. Then they got a turnover. It was awesome.
Unrelatable.
Yeah. Unrelatable.
How
did your Raiders do yesterday?
You know, we don't talk about things like this. I think football season's over, actually. Is that what you're thinking? Concluded.
Yeah.
And
I don't want to mention scores or anything like that. But
no, we don't want to do that.
It seemed like there was double digits to single digits.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Come, Lord Jesus, come. That's my response.
All right.
Hey, welcome to the Centered Podcast, where we're going to start this episode over. All of that was cut. All of that out, Tanner. We don't want any of that. No, you can leave it, and people can ridicule me. What's new? Hey, we had a great Sunday.
Yeah, it was a really good Sunday.
Yeah. I had a conversation with someone, and I love these. And I think I'm guessing you have some of these too. where someone just says, hey, man, I was listening to the podcast and it really, like, everything that you guys said was relevant to, like, what I'm going through in life. And so, and that's probably the best conversations. Those are some of the best conversations you can have about the podcast, because that's literally the goal. Yeah. You know, and so, just right there, I was like, that's a good day.
Yeah. I love that.
Good day.
Yeah. And I love having space to continue the conversation.
Yes.
And I think that's one of the things that, we just haven't figured out well as a church, is we create a moment or experience, but we don't continue the conversations that we're having on Sunday morning. And
and you know, there's like the oratory format, you know, of like one speaker on stage, like giving
monologue.
Yes,
the
monologue. And
instead
it's
of a
kind of nice
dialogue
to have that back and forth dialogue, even if not everyone can go, Pastor David, what answer this question? You know, just to have a little further unpacking.
But Ben, I don't know if you know this, but you can comment.
What?
You can ask questions.
People can do that?
They can dialogue with us. They can,
You're
man.
making stuff up.
We need more of that.
We do need more of that. It's good for the algorithm. I mean, it's good for our heart. It's good
for our community.
It's good for our community.
We're trying to build a podcast community here where we can dialogue about the things that are most important to us.
Yes, absolutely. No. And that is, I think it's really at the center, pun intended, of what we're trying to do here.
Yeah.
So, you know, as always, there's stuff David wanted to say, but David did not say because he ran out of time. And this week I was like, I was in the green room. There was 5 minutes left, and you only went to picture 3 of 4.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh
no.
boy.
Oh no.
We're going to have a big cutting room floor today.
Yeah. You know, we didn't do that bad. Okay. I moved some stuff around and was able,
Shuffle.
We didn't do that bad.
Nice.
Hey, what do we call this segment?
The cutting room floor.
Let's go. So here's the thing, dude, I love taking a familiar passage and like giving it a new twist. Like everybody does the, you know, triumphal entry, and there's always some like common themes that were there. And so my hope I was really excited to preach this week. Like it was one of those, weeks where I was like, all of Scripture was just started like linking up, you know, David's story and that whole story about how we choose a king, and then Jesus coming in and like being a different type of king than what we were expecting, and David being a different type of king, and even going back to the Israelites wanting a king when, man, God was ruling them faithfully, you know, like, and just that whole story of what it was like. But so setting it up, but. So I had this little piece that I was going to talk about. Like there's in Jesus's time, and I didn't talk about it because Lecrae stole it from me. I had this whole section in my sermon, and then he released his podcast, and he legitimately said like exactly what was in.
Did he hack your?
I don't know.
Sermon file,
like my sermon. I don't know if he's like
stinking Lecrae.
You know, asking people about me or what. Like what is going on? No. So I was like, I didn't have time to go into it because I would have had to like explain that whole thing.
Right.
But in the first century, it's important to know that there were clashing political and religious parties.
Mm-hmm.
We just want you to think about that right now. They were in a time and a season where there was clashing political and religious parties. Does that happen? Is that a part of culture?
No,
whatever.
I don't.
And they had, there was actually 4 parties. Lecrae only mentioned 3. There's actually 4. And there was the Pharisees who were wanting religious purity.
Yes.
Like fundamentalists, right? They want, and what they believed is that if they could just obey the law good enough, then God's promises would be fulfilled, right? God would bless them. God would give them power back. God would put them in the right seat of authority, all that type of thing. And so their whole goal was to obey the law. But in order to get everyone to obey the law, they had to like break the law.
Oh, dude.
Super funny, like to think about, like, so they were so scared of like this whole thing. So that's one. You have the Pharisees.
Okay.
Then you have the Sadducees,
Oh, yeah.
which was a religious party, but they were like, hey, if we could just like cozy up to the occupying political, like power
Rome.
that was
Rome.
there. Like if we could just cozy up to Rome, we could like live in this duality and just keep peace. That was their whole thing. They're just Sadducees. They're like right in the middle, like, yeah, we'll adopt some things from Rome and we'll keep some things. And we have this like Sadducees that were there. And then you had the Zealots. The Zealots were the people that were like insurrection. Let's overthrow. Let's just get rid of Rome. Let's overthrow them by force and power in the name of Jesus.
In the name of
not
Jesus.
In the name of Yahweh.
Oh, wow.
In the name of Yahweh.
They're ahead of their time.
Jesus is Yahweh, by the way. But
they didn't know that.
They didn't know that yet.
Weren't
They didn't know that
declaring
yet.
that.
In
Yes.
the name of Yahweh.
Yes.
And so you had that. And then you had this other religious sect.
This the group that Lecrae left out?
He left out.
Okay.
The Essenes.
Oh.
Which were these like kind of like sage monks that just like went off, and they were isolationists. So they were like, if we could just separate ourselves from everything that's going on in culture, if we could just create a bubble where no one can touch us, and we can just bide our time and wait until God does whatever he's going to do in their like little religious community.
Hide.
Yeah. And what's interesting is Jesus came in and he supported none of those.
Not one.
Yeah, so really, if you're thinking the political power, you have Rome, the Pharisees, the Sadducees, the Zealots, and the Essenes.
That wouldn't happen today.
Yeah. Yeah.
He'd pick my party.
He would, Jesus would be on my side. But I think that is something we need to take notice of, is that Jesus isn't, he's not affirming one way or the other. He's starting a completely different way. And I think oftentimes what we do is we start with the side that we most align with, the things that we like the most, and then we justify Jesus' support of that.
Yes.
Instead of starting with Jesus, I'm going on Jesus's bandwagon, his way, which was completely different. And you saw he actually turned all of those systems upside down, all of them. In different ways, in ways that we didn't expect, but he had a complete different party, like a different way of trying to accomplish what those parties were trying to accomplish, which was to try to honor God, right? That in all reality, that's what they're trying to do. Like, that's what they're doing.
It doesn't all come from a bad
No. They all thought that they were honoring God and wanting what God wants and doing what God wants. And that's why I think it's so important, that first phrase, to say we need to not just want the Lord's will, but we have to embrace his way. And that is the difference between Jesus and the rest of the thing. I didn't have time to unpack that as well as I wish I did. I said I alluded to some of those those
for
things.
Sure.
But there's a whole story in the background that's going on that should make us stop and pause and be like, hey, if Jesus was to enter into our timeline of our day, what would be the political and religious sects that he would not align himself with?
All of them?
Yeah.
Sounds like.
It sounds like.
Yeah. Well, and I think like we have this tendency to look at like the systems and structures, be they political, religious, etc., that are in place, and we choose one and we align ourselves to it. Whereas Jesus is like, no. I have my way. You all need to align yourselves to that. And that none of them perfectly fit.
Right.
They all have good elements and elements that are like missing the mark.
Yeah.
And so it requires nuance for us to like actually separate ourselves from these systems and these not just systems, but like communities and people groups.
Yeah.
That we get tangled into with that.
Yeah.
And just go, no, well, yeah, Jesus is with you on this, but not on this. And
Yeah.
it's hard to do.
Yep.
And when you do that, people within those groups now, because of the culture we live in today, they vilify you.
Yeah.
You know, you're not aligned enough.
Yeah.
You're not with us enough.
Yeah.
And it's not good enough to agree partially with someone.
Yeah.
You have to agree completely, or you're against them.
Right. Yeah. You can never critique. You can never, and that's the big thing that we see is Jesus is altogether challenging our allegiance.
Yeah.
And he's drawing a pretty clear distinction in the sand of allegiance to God and allegiance to anything else. And so much of what we put our stock in is not allegiance to God, but allegiance to some sort of man-made institutional structure, right? Some sort of belief system that validates us, that makes us feel righteous, that makes us feel better than, that makes us feel like we're on the winning side. Like all like that, we love to have our allegiances tied up there. And Jesus came to be like, hey, and he did this in sneaky ways. Like when the Pharisees tried right after this in the temple, cleansing of the temple, I don't think it's in Luke, I think it's in Matthew. But the Pharisees ask him like, hey, should we pay taxes to Caesar?
Right.
Talking about the church, the religious people.
Ooh.
Think about that for a moment.
And you go back to those 4 parties.
Yeah, go back to those 4 parties. And
they have huge disagreement on it. So you're going to piss someone off no matter
totally,
what.
No matter what you say. The Sadducees are going to be like, Pharisees are going to be, really the Sadducees and the Zealots. The Pharisees didn't really care. They were just trying to stir up stuff. Like they just wanted to be left alone.
Well, and they understood that the people would not be okay with saying yes.
Yeah. And Rome would not be okay if he said no. Right? So they're trying to trap Jesus.
So many layers.
And I love that Jesus is just saying, look, give Caesar what is Caesar's. Like if it belongs to him, let him have it.
Yeah.
But what he's saying there is he's making a distinction between allegiance to a nation or a political system or a cultural power and allegiance to God. That's all he's doing in that moment is making a separation between those two things. And I just think we have to be careful with, or we have to reflect, what is our allegiance really to Christ and his kingdom, or is it to something else? And I know it's scary, and that doesn't mean that we don't have political opinions, or we're not active politically, or we don't align with one party or the other to try to accomplish certain things we want to see accomplished in the world. That's not what it is, but it's when your identity and your allegiance is to that more than God.
Right.
That's when we get into trouble. So I didn't have time to unpack all that.
Yeah.
I was going to though. I legitimately was.
But Lecrae stole it.
Yeah. That guy.
Actually, I really like Lecrae.
I had another. No, his podcast is awesome. You should listen to it. And it's actually the whole thing. He got a lot of flack for not responding quickly and extensively enough about the Charlie Kirk stuff. And so he was processing that on his podcast of like what that felt like for him and why. And dude, he had this like crazy dream about like you have to watch a podcast.
Yeah,
like not a dream, a vision. Actually, it was a vision. He was awake when he was there. I did have a guy come up to me and he was geeking out over the part of breaking the donkey and that donkey, like, not being broken. Yeah. And he was a cowboy. Like,
okay, I was going to say,
he works on a ranch. He works with horses. And he was like, dude, you have no idea, which I don't, because that's not like me.
Right.
He's like,
I didn't either. I was like,
he's like, you have no idea like how true that is. And he says, what did he say? A horse's nature is to protect itself, and man's nature is to dominate something else.
Those seem to be at odds.
Yeah. And so he said when the reason why like a horse can sense the man's like not just like disposition as a conqueror to conquer things,
Yeah.
right? To have dominion over.
Yeah.
It. And which is like a biblical thing. I was thinking about that. And when those two things come together, the horse can't trust the man, right? And that whole thing. And so that's why it needs to be broken. So
that's interesting.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. Well, it made me think of, because I know nothing about horses. I'm Los Angeles. Like I got nothing. So I didn't know about that at all. But it made me think a little bit about like as a when you're a parent and you have a baby.
Yeah.
And how they feed off of your emotion. Like if you're anxious, somehow these babies
totally
are anxious, and they just sense our anxiety. They're not able to communicate it. They don't understand us. I'm really anxious about X, Y, and Z. Like there's none of that going on. It's just like we have this ability to
energy.
Like
negative energy,
our emotions just
energy.
transmit in ways that have nothing to do with communicating it verbally or it's really fascinating. So it makes sense that like dogs too, right? Like dogs freak out and because we're tense or we're so that's interesting. I know nothing.
Yeah, I didn't. I had a lot. I was going to talk a lot more about that aspect, but I ate up a bunch of time on that faithful part, which I really loved, and I think is such a huge part of understanding the gospel is understanding Jesus' obedience for us.
Right.
I'm sure we'll talk about that later.
No, it is huge.
And then the final thing that I had to rush on, which I did pretty good hitting all the other parts, but was the idea of Jesus restoring worship. And I didn't say that. And I wanted to say that. Like at the end of the day, the temple practices represented communion with God. Connection with God. Right? Relationship with God. Like all of that was there. And really the whole idea, getting back to the songs, even the rocks will cry out. Like humans were created for worship. And worship is adoration and singing and celebration and lament and all of those things. But more than anything, worship is reflecting God's intention back into the world. It's a reflection back to God, giving glory to God, for like who He is. And we weren't created to live in the shadow of sin. And all of the temple practices were in the shadow of sin, atoning for sin, getting rid of sin, covering for sin, cleansing from sin, that whole thing. And Jesus came to do away with that system so that we no longer are in the shadow of sin, but we're in the shadow of God's glory. That's what lights us up. And I wasn't able to get there. I ran out of time. I was going to go there. So I like used that, but then to go to my, to get to my landing on that. And I just think that's a really beautiful thing. You opened up our service beautifully talking about like our 21 days of prayer. And the whole time I'm just like, man, like our songs that we sung, I was like, I wish that we understood that more than anything, what Jesus did was to restore worship.
Yeah, no, I mean, when you think about what the temple was, and now you're the temple.
Yeah.
We're the place where God resides. We're the point of connection to God. And so we don't need this third party
anymore
to manage or bring us into a place of worship. But we can worship God wherever we are, whatever we're doing.
In everything.
Yes.
Always.
Yes. And so, it is, it's something I don't think we think about a lot because we're used to having such freedom, American culture, like all the reasons we're Western, all this, we have a lot of freedoms. And so we don't think about how different it was.
Mhm.
Like, no, this is very regimented, what worship had to look like and what it was to be clean and unclean and what that
ton
meant
of
for
social
you.
laws and stuff around that,
yes, like not
Yeah.
just like we've talked a little bit about like leprosy and
Yeah.
like that's form of unclean, but it's not just that. There's so many.
There were certain vocations
yes.
that weren't. If you held a job, like earned money in a certain way, you couldn't come into the temple, and you had to stay at the most the outer courts, at the least not even allowed in. Like,
Yep, vocations. Even women
Yep.
had different
Women.
standards,
Yep.
and like there's so many different things.
yeah, there was
that-
actually a special court for women, but they it was very divided, and it was social, political, and spiritual.
But I like that distinction: the shadow of sin, and the shadow of God's glory.
Yeah,
You know, because everything
cast
was
over us.
pointed towards atonement.
Yeah.
You know, and in this setting, and you know, we're free
Yeah.
from the
Totally.
bondage of sin.
And typically we get to that part and we talk about the corruption. And I was going to talk a little bit about, the corruption we see within the church to exploit people and to keep them trapped. And you certainly saw that in a certain era of Catholicism, with indulgences and, things like that, like making people pay, for, more than God demanded for their forgiveness and all of that. But we have different forms of that today,
Absolutely.
like celebrity culture and, like fame and how, I mean, there is we talked about it today, the phrase, the evangelical industrial complex. Like there's a whole machine of money making and monetizing the religious faith that I think is really hurt, the people of God, which is where God dwells, which is the temple, the people of God, that now God dwells in us as the church. And I think that one thing that I would like to show, and I don't know if I hit this at all on the surface, I can't remember, but that Jesus went to cleanse the temple, not the culture.
That much.
Yeah.
That much. And I actually forgot that you did this because it's something I would probably normally want to key in on.
Yeah.
But yes, I was sitting there going, ooh.
Yeah.
Because that's, the church wants to cleanse culture.
Totally.
Like that, I mean, for my whole lifetime, I mean, I still 4 years old in the church, and just like some of the, like, I don't remember what was said, but I remember how I felt.
Yeah.
And there was the whole culture war,
Totally.
of the 80s and like that whole deal.
Yeah.
And it's like, no,
Like we want to flip over tables in the world, but Jesus flipped over tables in the church.
right.
And that's a whole different conversation.
Very different.
Yeah. And I think I said something, but I
You did.
I
You
wasn't
did.
able to get into it because you did the keyboard. The keyboard
Yeah,
started
the
playing. It's like, dang it. All right.
The hook came in.
The hook came in.
I'm not done yet. Just think
It's all
of,
right. We got there.
Will
It
Ferrell.
was good, man. It was good.
Yeah. No, it's
It was
good.
good timing.
I think it's a good time to get into some fun.
Just for funsies.
All right.
Just for funsies.
What you got for me today?
Okay, so there was actually like a bunch of stuff I thought about going into. I thought about like the Lord needs it. So like you said, I just want to go to Dick's, and like we're not gonna talk about that.
The Lord needs it.
The Lord needs it.
Where would you go? And
Yeah,
just-
where
if that worked anywhere, where would you go?
Apple
The
store.
Lord needs it.
I thought about that. I thought about stink face.
Okay, I gave you guys. I
You
gave you
me
some
a lot.
material.
You gave me a lot to work with this
Yeah,
week.
yeah,
We're
yeah.
not going to do that.
Okay.
We're not going to do that.
Yeah.
Actually, I thought this was kind of funny. We each had our own little faux pas on Sunday.
Okay.
So I had two, and I caught one of yours. So my two, just full transparency
Yeah.
and confession. So in the pre-service, this is so dumb. I'm praying the Lord's Prayer, and it just like midway through, I was just like, I lost it. I just didn't even have the rest of it.
You're like, I don't know what it is.
Well, because we just sang, we were singing a song that had like different words than I'm used to with it. And it just threw me. And I was joking around with Maddie. I was like, I've never prayed the Lord's Prayer. And she looked at me. I was like, no, I'm kidding. Like, I just forgot. I had a brain fart, you know?
Yeah.
So that happened to me. And then in the main service, I don't mess up lyrics a lot, but I know someone who does. He's listening. But I did. It was Forever and Amen was the song. And I wrote it down because I couldn't even remember it. You bend to listen.
Yeah.
And you long to hear it.
Yeah.
Was the lyrics. And I said, you long to hear it, you long to hear it. Because I just like...
You long to listen, you long to hear it.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, well, you know. And so I made a couple mistakes. You had one as well, though. You said you were talking about the Pharisees.
Yeah.
And you said the fairies.
Here's what I don't understand.
Shout out to Chris and Tina.
Here's what I don't understand. Why do you think that's a mistake?
Do explain. Why wouldn't I? I'm curious.
I mean,
you were reading a scripture, so
fairies for a bunch of dudes. That's not a very nice, thing to say about a couple of dudes.
Okay. So I just thought, you know what would be fun is like, let's just talk about some of our favorite stage mishaps.
Oh gosh.
You know,
I don't think I can. I've had some bad ones.
See, and I
preached a whole message with my fly down once.
Ooh,
whole message, dude. And I'm talking like
you almost did. You talked about preaching with your pants falling down.
My pants falling down.
This is close. This is
I totally preached a whole message and
it's pretty undignified.
Walked off stage and looked down, and it wasn't just like. Oh, you could see it was like when your pants like open up,
no.
like the
is
like.
Is this in the live stream area?
No,
okay,
pre-live stream. Yeah,
that's.
Pre-live
I'm
stream.
like, thank the Lord.
Praise the Lord. For
I
that.
probably have
I do
more,
not
but I've forgotten them because it was live stage. My very favorite one is a missed lyric, and I've shared this with you. I share this with everyone. I think it's hilarious. Chris Lord was singing God of Revival, and the lyric is, why should my heart fear? And he sang, why should my fart hear? Just mixed up two letters.
Two letters.
Like, 2 letters. And dude, I was on vacation. I wasn't even there. Within minutes, I had a video cut up and sent to me by our drummer. Like, it was so like, crazy.
And this went viral.
It did. I think it's got about 1 million views between like a bunch of different channels that it got put out on. But like Brian Johnson, who wrote the song, he reposted it on his. Guys like Mac Powell and Phil Wickham are commenting on the real. It was hilarious. So shout out to Chris. Dude. That's my absolute favorite one.
Shout out to Mosaic Worship.
That's right.
We've made it.
We hit it big. We went viral once.
For all the wrong reasons. We went viral.
That's all. That's all that matters. We went viral. Yeah. I got a couple others. I don't know if you have any others you want to share.
I only have one other big. Dude, here's the thing about me. My brain moves quicker than my mouth.
Oh, same.
My mouth tries to keep up, but it just cannot. So I have those types of things all the time where I'll, use a word or I'll make up words. You know what I mean? Ooh. Like I'll just be like, and I'm like, it sounds good. And this, I think it means this. And I've only had one other one, but it's legitimately not appropriate.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, I don't know if these are appropriate, but I'm going to share them. We can cut them out if they're not.
Okay.
All right. So I had a pastor. I'm not going to name his name because I love him. He's a great guy. But he had 2 in child dedications.
Oh.
2 different child dedications, separate child. He loved child dedications.
Okay.
Loved them. And so the first one, he said, he's like praying, or not praying. He's talking about it, and he's about to pray for him. And he just says, I love touching children. And he took a breath.
Oh, no.
A really long breath. And then he said, with the love of Jesus.
Okay.
And so like his heart was totally pure.
Yeah.
But
it just...
the pause... So it was so bad. We were leading a college group.
Did you hear like all the like air just get sucked out of the room in that moment?
The college group we led at the time, they wanted to make shirts that on the front said, "I love touching children," and on the back say, "With the love of Jesus." And I was like, you can't do that. That's horrible. So that was one. He also did, he would always read Psalm 127. And from the Message, it says, "Don't you see that children are God's best gift? The fruit of the womb, his generous legacy." But he said, "The fruit of the loom." Like the underwear.
The fruit of the loom.
Fruit of the loom. So that was kind of a funny one. He also once said he was trying to talk about the TV. And he said, "So I was watching The One-Eyed Monster the other day." And I was like, "No, that's not what you think it is. That. You cannot say that." I had to tell him later. It was kind of embarrassing for both of us, really. So yeah, those were pretty funny. But
pretty bad.
You just don't, sometimes you don't know. Like, and the way that language changes. And,
dude, totally.
That meant something generationally to him that it did not mean to my generation.
Totally.
And so, I just thought, some funny mishaps on stage. They happen.
They happen all the time.
They're going to happen again. We're going to do them. And now they're all caught on live stream.
You're just stuck with them forever. And we don't edit any of that stuff.
Thank goodness mine was in the pre-service.
We need like that 30-second delay so that we can edit our...
Right. Something to think about. Okay, so let's talk about the sermon. I had a thought. I was just sitting there, and you were talking about the triumphal entry, and how they all like threw off their cloaks and laid them down, and Jesus is the king riding on a donkey, right?
Yeah.
And I was taking it back to last week. And what the cloak represented. The cloak was the blind beggar's like security.
Yeah.
And like basically it was everything. Everything he owned was this cloak. Yeah. And the crowd's cloak was like this celebratory, act. So one was like an act of faith, one was an act of like celebration for this king. But it obviously didn't have staying power. The second one.
Yeah.
Because a week later, they're crucifying.
Totally, yeah.
And so I guess what I'm kind of like, I was trying to like think through if there was any meaning in that. And like, I guess the question is this: is there a danger when we offer public praise like the crowds did without private surrender? Like the blind beggar.
That's good, dude. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I do think I think one of the things that we talk about a lot is the freeness of grace. Like we don't have to earn it or like work for it, or it's free. It's there. And sometimes I think we can overuse that image. Because when you have allegiance to something, it costs you everything. And I think that there is a sense where to follow Jesus, there is a laying down and surrender. And even at the end of the thing is like you can either crown him as your king or you can crucify him, get rid of him. And that's Jesus leaves you only those two options. And I think that's a grace, because I do think that sometimes we treat Jesus here in America like the Hindus in Southeast Asia treat their million gods that they can worship. Like you just add them to whatever.
An option.
It's just an option. I can just add him to this.
Jesus
and just
plus.
add him to that. Yeah, he's just one. Of another thing. And I do think that there is this sense of exclusivity with Jesus where he's like, it can only be me. You know what I mean? Like it's either only me or not me, because it's that significant of a relationship. It's a monogamous relationship when it comes to worship, and idolatry. Like that's the only way I could put it. That's what the call is. And I do think there is a little bit of a superficial like act of throwing, like they're going through the motions of kingship until it gets hard. till Rome
Right.
comes in, until Jesus is arrested, until
Doesn't meet your
what-
expectations.
Yeah, it doesn't meet your expectations, and there is a
Yeah.
little bit of that imagery that's probably there.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of like thinking about the parable of the sower, and maybe like
Yeah, the different
that
soils.
act is like it didn't take root. I laid down my cloak, but I'm part of the crowd. Everyone's doing it.
Yeah.
You get kind of worked up into a frenzy. We're all part of this
Yeah,
amazing moment. Like I'm sure, like imagine being there. It would be
totally.
crazy.
Yeah, and I think they were genuine.
Yeah,
they were excited.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely. And yet, there's something different about what the blind beggar did,
Yeah,
and that was something that seemed to like take root and have fruit. I mean, we don't know, but I would assume,
yeah.
So yeah, I just thought it was an interesting distinction that I was just sitting there going like, how interesting. We
Yeah.
talked about that last week, and I'd never ever made that connection before.
Yeah.
But it seemed like it was there. So I don't know.
Yeah, typically it was palm branches, which was it was an allusion back to the Maccabees. That's when the Maccabees had a revolt, like some 70 years earlier, whatever it was, and the palm branches that were being waved in Hosanna, that whole thing that was being sung in other accounts, which in Matthew and Mark, I think, is in those accounts. I don't think the cloaks are in those accounts, which is interesting. Yeah, that you caught that because I don't. There has to be. I bet you there's some sort of connection there.
Yeah, I would think just because
Luke
it was
is making
did
with that. Yeah, so that's really interesting.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. It just it made me think about the contrast between the crowd,
the beggar, and the crowd.
beggar. Yeah,
that's good, dude.
Yeah.
Luke was a crafty. Like storyteller. Like he put the stories together in a way that really communicated and conveyed some pretty big ideas. So I would not be surprised if that was a part of it.
Yeah. Okay, you talked about when victory comes in, so does joy. You said that joy is a telltale sign that you're experiencing victory in your life, and that it's impossible to get lasting joy from temporary solutions.
Yeah.
So when you say joy is a telltale sign of victory, like what do you mean by that? And is joy like the proof that something's happening inside of us before we see it outside of us, or what does that does that mean as you say it?
Yeah. I think one is I think there's a pretty big distinction between the existence of joy and like other like here's what we think is that joy can run alongside other emotions. So like I've legitimately been in hospital rooms with a spouse that's dying and another spouse is there, and both of them have the joy of the Lord in the sadness and grief of loss.
Right.
Like I've seen it. Like, and there's nothing like that feeling. And I don't think there's any greater testimony to the power and presence of God at work in those people's lives in those types of moments. And that's what I mean by it's a telltale sign of their understanding of salvation, like what they actually have. Because there is nothing with Christ, like when you really believe everything that Christ tells us we can believe because of his finished work on the cross, nothing can steal your joy. Nothing. You could lose your job and still have joy. And that doesn't mean you're dancing and singing and running around happy all the time. Like
your
that's
pants probably are staying on.
Yeah, your pants are probably staying on.
Yeah,
like
you're
this
not
isn't.
Celebrating
you're
like
not
that.
celebrating like that. Like, but it does mean that there is just this steadiness that runs behind the background of whatever other emotions that are there. And I've seen it firsthand. I've experienced it firsthand. Incredible, hard, difficult situations, some awful loss. But having the joy of the kingdom always in the background of my story is different, man. It's just different, you know?
Would you say that, like, would you categorize joy as an emotion or something else, or maybe some hybrid, or what? Like,
Yes.
okay. Thank you for that clarification.
Yeah, man. I think there is I do also want to say like joy is a happiness expressed. Like when when we're stoked about Jesus and the kingdom, like it's okay to laugh and smile and be happy. And like, it's one of the reasons why I can look at the world that we're going around in and that we live in, and then go home and like belly laugh on the couch with my wife because we saw something funny or whatever, because those things don't define me. Like, it's just not my all defining reality. There's some other definition. And so I say, yes, it is an emotion. It's also an expression. And so I'm always leery of people who claim to have a relationship with God, and they always seem so serious and so annoyed or angry or mad about something, or you know what I mean? Like and you get those people that are just so like, just is seemingly angry all the time, you know, where it's like, man, I question, like, man, have you tasted the kingdom? Like, do you know what salvation is? Like, do you know what Jesus is going to do? Like, do you like, and I want to like, someone has robbed your joy.
Right.
Someone has stole your salvation. Like,
when it's often attached to legalism, right?
Yeah.
Like they see themselves maybe as like a little bit of a morality police.
Yeah. Maybe,
You know? I don't know.
Totally.
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure what that thing is, but I know the Bible tells us it's the joy of the Lord that is our strength. And that looks like something. Like, it doesn't look like nothing. And so I know some of the like gruffest, manliest, non-emotional men that have met Jesus and exude joy. You know? And those are the types of things that I'm like, dude, dang, that's awesome.
That's powerful.
Yeah, it's powerful.
Yeah. Okay, so you've got like the distinction between like joy and anger, but I feel like there's a different side that isn't joy, that might be more like sadness or depression.
Yeah.
So like, you know, I'm thinking about the person who maybe believes in Jesus, is doing their best to walk in faith and follow him, but isn't experiencing joy, but is in that like depressed state. And what I don't think you're wanting them to hear is like, well, if you had more faith, you would be healed.
Yeah.
Like people have said with physical ailments, and depression is you know, a chemical thing. It can be.
Yeah.
So like, what would you say to that?
That's a biological condition.
Yeah.
You know, that needs to be addressed in whatever form. It's either a spiritual condition or a biological condition. Either way, it needs to be addressed, because it is, and here's the difference between sadness and depression. Sadness is usually focused on external things, something else, and it has hope. Depression is usually focused on self, where you're the center, and it is without hope.
Hopeless.
And it causes us to have a veil. It makes it really hard for us to see beyond ourselves in there. And so I would say if someone's experiencing depression, then they need to seek some medical help and see if they can address it through medication, through, you know, there's all kinds of chemical imbalances that they can do it. And some of it can be even settled through things like, diet, exercise, and community, actually. So there's ways that we can address that depression is there. But I would argue that those things are getting in the way of your joy, that it's not God's desired state for you. And I would never speak that over someone. And I hate when people like try to make those conditions like acceptable.
Like,
because that says something about
there's
God.
Something final feeling about that.
It's like, no, you can overcome that. Like, I believe that there are ways, you know, through both, medical help and spiritual help, and oftentimes it's a combination of those two things that can help overcome depression.
Yeah, and I do think that's it's important for people to hear, but it's also there is something important to saying, like, if you are experiencing depression, that's not like a death sentence isn't the right word, but like it's not the final
Yeah.
word on your ability to experience joy
Mm-hmm.
and experience the fullness of life that God offers us.
Yeah.
And so like what we want, and we want people to experience that, but I think like an essential component of that is hope, right?
Yeah.
And it's not the same thing as faith in Jesus, but you can have faith in Jesus, but like question his ability or desire to do something for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Doubt is
Yeah.
different. Yeah.
And so like to have that distinction, but to maybe find a place where you believe that God can do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I hear stories all the time. I know like Sean Johnson from Red Rocks Church. That's his story, man, to the point where, dude, he had depression to a point where he wanted to take his own life. And he has a book about how he was able to overcome that through a combination of, one, dealing with his own mental health and issues and stuff, but two, also allowing God into those areas. And sometimes I think we hold God off from those areas because we think like, oh, that's something else. And God wants to meet us like in our areas. And sometimes God doesn't just heal us, but he does give us the courage and empowers us to pursue healing.
Yes.
And that's a huge, like, man, that's huge.
Yeah. And I think courage is a huge part of it too.
Yeah.
We often, and I tell my kids this too, like, we tend to think of courage as like the absence of fear, but it's actually the ability to push forward in the midst of fear.
Yeah.
And so like to be afraid is not, it's also not a final, like, oh, if you're afraid, you can't move forward. No, like that's where courage is required.
Yeah.
And that's where God, by the power of his Spirit, can empower you and give you the courage to take those steps
And
forward.
oftentimes the very first step is talking about it.
Absolutely.
Like, don't hide it. It's not like it is normative to have broken patterns of thinkings and thoughts that need help. And like the first thing that you can do in courage is to talk to someone about your depression and let them walk alongside you. But my encouragement to everybody, no matter what the circumstance are, God sings over you and has joy for you. Like his best for you is joy.
Yeah.
It is joy. No matter what your circumstance are, what you're going through, what it is, the joy of the Lord can be your strength if you will allow it. Like
That's good. That's good. And it's like what you said about letting someone in.
Yeah.
Like it's vital. When we keep these things to ourselves, we believe the lie that we're the only one who feels this way.
Oh, the enemy loves that stuff.
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah. And it's just this isolation. And that's why community is so important.
Yeah.
Just being vulnerable, scary, terrifying, honestly. But
and dude, when people come to me, I ask them about their diet, I ask them about their exercise, and I ask them about their community. Like those, I always start there before just being like, oh, you need to go to a therapist and get medicine.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like there could be some very like real God-given like remedies like for that in there. And I always think that if we're those three things, people aren't taking care of themselves and they don't have belonging. And oftentimes that's where our hyper focus on self, which is depressing.
Right.
It is really depressing when we're just looking inward because we can't, we can't be who we know we're supposed to be on our own.
Yeah,
we don't have what it takes. Yeah, we don't have what it takes.
We just see what we don't have
Totally.
and what we can't do and what our limitations are. And we, it is depressing, quite honestly. And when we're able to be in community and have people, I mean, obviously the right kind of community is important, people who are loving and affirming and building you up, but to have people say no, like, man, I see some beautiful things in you. I see some wonderful things in you and things that we don't see in ourselves.
Yeah.
And so that's just vital. So I thought it was worth kind of going down that.
Yeah.
Because
there is a spiritual dynamic there, which is why I started the service this week with, man, I really believe there are people in the room that walked in that had some things spoken over them this week that needed to be broken in the name of Jesus. And I think it's important that we're a community that understands the spiritual warfare that's going on.
Yeah, no, and that's and I think I don't think it's some people. I think it's a lot of people. I think we're constantly getting bombarded with explicit and implicit messages that we're not enough.
Yeah,
I mean that's what marketing is.
Yep. Yeah.
Marketing, basically, the whole premise of marketing is you're not enough, you need this, then you'll be enough.
Yep. And then you're like, oh, wait.
But you also need this.
You also have to get this.
But wait, there's more.
Yeah.
It's this cycle. But that's like literally we're bombarded by messages telling us we're not enough.
Yeah.
And so, I don't think it's just a handful of people. I think the majority of people walk in to any environment, and that's the experience.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Okay, I wanted to talk about this. This will be my last thing here, because you said this stuck with me, and there was a lot. Man, there's a lot. Anyways, we'll focus on this one. I'm all over the place. There's so many things within this conversation.
Yeah.
Okay, so you said true power doesn't ignore suffering; it enters it. And I think about culture, and I think about how culture defines power, and power doesn't enter suffering. Power like builds walls that keeps it out.
Yeah. Or creates it.
Or creates it for others.
Yeah.
Like, it means escaping pain, staying untouchable, keeping control. Like these are the power dynamics. But Jesus runs towards suffering, towards our pain. And so like, why do you think that it's so hard for us to like understand that about what real power, like God's power looks like? And why is it so hard for us to like live that out?
Oh my gosh. So many things, bro. We got 4
bonus
minutes
edition.
Left. Yeah, we did like bonus. Dude, this is my pet peeve right now, dude. And there's this whole conversation about the evil of empathy. That people are saying that empathy is evil. And I get it. Like if we're talking semantically, the difference between like empathy and sympathy and compassion and power, like there is this thing. But dude, I think we have lost our ability to put ourselves in someone else's shoes. We have such an individualistic echo chamber that we exist in, that we've just lost our ability to put someone else in others' shoes. And dude, one of the things is that I didn't get to talk about too much that I said as a passing comment. I hope it landed. But I said we have a tendency to make enemies, right, out of people we are called to serve, and we make friends with things that we're actually enemies with.
Yeah. I got
like
it. I got it.
Consumerism and comfort and individualism. And these are principalities and powers and darkness that man, the enemy loves to put in front of us that we cozy up with to distract us from the things that like that we really need to be about, which is, caring for the stranger and the poor and the marginalized. And Jesus said, and he had this conversation to the religious people. He said, look, I didn't come for the well, but for the sick. They were so up in arms in who Jesus was spending time with. And Jesus was explicit and clear that he came to seek and save the lost, those who are outside of the kingdom of God and God's favor and blessing and, all of that things. And even in his most famous sermon, he tries to redefine who his blessings for. Blessed are the, and man, if we stop having compassion for other fellow human beings, we've lost our religion. We've lost Christianity.
Yeah. It seems foundational to like who Jesus was, and not just like what he said, like what he did.
Yeah.
Like he served people. He washed his disciples' feet.
Yeah.
Like I don't think we really like that seems gross to us.
Yeah.
But like no,
Dude, culturally, it was unheard of, unthinkable.
yes, it's ridiculous. And they don't have nice socks and Nikes. Like, dude, those feet were gross.
It was
like,
stanky.
Yeah, like talk about a stink face.
That was
Like-
stanky. But dude, it's not even that he washed his disciples' feet. He washed Judas's feet.
Right.
And the measure of a man's love is not how he loves his friends, but how he loves his enemies.
Yeah.
And that's, dude, at the very end of the day, like if you want to know a love that is set apart, it's how we love our enemies.
Love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you.
Lord, forgive them. They know not
That
what
was
they
the
do.
next one that came to mind.
Yeah.
Like
it's like, that's huge.
but these are unthinkable concepts. Like it is so far beyond my ability or comprehension. Like it's hard to wrap my head around. And again, I've said this before. It's like, we can't do this.
Mm-hmm.
Like we literally can't apart from the power of the Spirit
Christ
living in us. Yes. And so, I just thought that was really interesting. That contrast of power, how we define it and tend to live into it and expect it to look, and then how Jesus,
Dude, how we treat each other and like, and it wraps all the way back around to that opening story, is that life is much less about what do you want to do, what do you want to accomplish, what do you want to produce, but who do you want to be?
Who do you want to be?
And that's like when I look at all of these conversations that we have, it's like, who do I want to be? Mm-hmm. And I want to be like Jesus.
Yeah. It's the thing I tell my kids all the time.
Yeah.
Like, I do care about what they do, but like, it's not about what you do. It's about who you're becoming.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing I care about.
Yep.
And so, it's powerful stuff. All right. I think we hit real life. I think that is real life.
Yeah, that is real life.
Let's wrap up with your low-key obsession.
Let him cook. It's time for David's low-key obsession.
Well, worship night.
Ooh.
I mean, we're in day 12 now of our 21 days of prayer, and dude, every morning I get up and legitimately just shout, like, to you guys. Like sometimes I'll spend 25 minutes in it. Sometimes it's like 4 or 5 minutes in it. And so like, no shade. If you're like,
I just read it.
Yeah, just jump in. If you just read it or just jump in if you haven't started yet. We're on day 12, 13 tomorrow. So you can, by the time this comes out, we'll be on day
14.
14. Okay. Just jump in and start reading through it. But dude, it's just, I'm thinking about, I know that our whole church isn't doing it, but I know there's a bunch of people that are doing this together. And like every time I read through that, like I anticipate gathering with those people and worshiping, and it's like, it's just exciting for me.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for our worship night.
Yeah, me too.
And I'm just really hoping that we can come with some anticipation. And I'm believing that God is going to, heal some wounds. I believe that God is going to give some fresh vision and life and breath into people. And it is going to be a doorway into the new for Mosaic.
Yeah. Yeah, no. And man, there's, I think about, there's so many people who are just like coming together to make it happen. You've got a worship team, you've got a tech team, you've got, staff within the church who are going to be here to be, hospitality for people. Like there's a lot that's going into it. And I feel like there's something beautiful about just people coming together to create space for people to experience God in that way, to lay their burdens down, to give him glory, to
Find
to
healing.
ask for healing. Yeah, like all those things. And so, yeah, I'm definitely for it. I'm looking forward to it. We're working on it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's going to be good,
gonna
dude.
be awesome.
It's going to be good.
It's gonna be awesome. Well, hey, I think that's it.
We did
That's
it.
a wrap.
We did it.
We did it.
That's a wrap.
We
Thank
were
you.
only 4 minutes
4
over.
minutes over.
Despite
Thanks
my
for-
many questions.
Thanks for hanging with us. We had some
Yes.
good conversations.
Good
though.
stuff. Good
Yeah.
stuff.
Like, share, subscribe,
All those things.
comment, do all the
Unless
things.
you don't like us, don't comment.
Yeah. You can comment even if you don't like us. Okay.
And people do.
Yeah.
People do. So, somebody called you a false teacher. I can show you.
Awesome.
Somebody called you a false
Nice.
teacher.
I
and
got it
then
finally.
somebody said we were shameful. So
we get it, dude.
we get people who don't like us too. That's
Yeah.
fine. I joke.
They say all publicity is good publicity.
That's
So,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least we're having conversations that matter. That's how I know
Right.
that we're having conversations that matter.
Absolutely. Hey, thank you so much. Have a great week.
Thanks for listening to Centered. Be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with a friend. You can listen to Centered on your favorite podcast platform or watch on YouTube. To learn more about Mosaic or connect further, visit us online at welcometomosaic.com. See you next week.